We are in Chicago. We are at ACC 16, and I have to tell you to check out the January issue of CardioSource World News. Genes in the Heart was the topic, and we're kind of doing an update of that cover story. You might wonder why we're doing it so fast. Well, it's because that cover story actually took the longest of any we've done. It was a good year and a half in the building of what you're reading in the January issue of CardioSource World News. So what I want to do is actually talk about stuff that's being presented here and also elsewhere around the world in the form of MyoKardia CEO Tassos Gianakakos. And I got to tell you, first off, I appreciate talking to you before because that really led us in the direction of writing this cover story. But talk a little bit first at the beginning about MyoKardia, and then we can go into what's new.
Yeah, it's great to see you again.
Thank you.
There's been a lot of progress actually since our last conversation. But to remind some of the viewers here, MyoKardia is a company that's focused on a new approach to discovering and developing cardiovascular drugs, really focused on precision medicine. So that means different things to different people. In the MyoKardia context, we design molecules that target what we believe and our research tell us are the underlying cause of these diseases, and then look at genetics, echocardiography, and other clinical measurements to identify well-defined patient segments to be able to treat quickly and efficiently, hopefully getting them closer to cures. Now, the first group of diseases we're going after are genetic diseases of the heart muscle called heritable cardiomyopathies. There's no approved therapies for these drugs. These patients are suffering. It affects generations of family members. And what we've been able to do with the help of the research community is pinpoint what we think is the cause and the result of these mutations that they're born with that they can pass on, and offset or correct them to get them closer to a normal functioning heart muscle and alleviate all of the downstream issues which are very devastating: heart failure, stroke, open heart procedures, and transplant.
So what's new?
So since our last conversation, there's been a lot that we've done. We have now in our pipeline of cardiomyopathy therapies, our most advanced is called MYK-461, and it's now in clinical study. We have 3 clinical studies underway, phase 1 studies in patients, as well as in HCM patients, as well as in healthy volunteers. And we've been able to show in those studies clinical proof of mechanism. The drug is doing what we predicted. It's early in development, but we've got important signs of efficacy and tolerability, which are really, really encouraging.
Very nice, yeah.
We've wrapped that around with a scientific approach to help us really understand the disease and the molecule better, and we've had 2 bits of important animal work that we've also done. One was published in February of 2016's Science Journal, which shows that MYK-461, or 461 as we call it, can prevent and reverse the disease in multiple genetic mouse models. Really, really cool stuff. And it tells you, because these genetic mutations in these animals, these are pathways that are highly conserved throughout evolution. So it gives us more confidence that they will translate into people, as opposed to some other therapeutic areas, cancer, et cetera, and some other diseases. The machinery of the heart muscle contraction is screwed up here by the mutation. So what we're seeing in mice, we're encouraged by, and we're seeing it now early in the clinic. We've also looked at a cat model of disease in a specifically severe form called obstructive hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, or HCM. This is where, as the heart thickens, a big knob of muscle forms at the base of the aorta, blocks the blood flow out through the left outflow tract, and creates all the trouble for these patients. These cats naturally get this disease. It affects about 2/3 of HCM patients, and treating these cats with 461 eliminated the left ventricular outflow tract obstruction, which is really exciting and promising. Those patients today are often recommended for an open heart procedure and surgery. Again, nothing left for these folks. So the total data, which is a lot more than we had last time we spoke, it's given us reason to believe that this approach is important, it's interesting, we've got a lot more work to do. It's really encouraging, and it's generating a lot of enthusiasm in the patient community as well as in the cardiology community.
And we should point out that MyoKardia has a slightly different way of looking at things in terms of being a business.
Yeah. So we're about a 70-person company. We're based in just south of San Francisco. So we're a startup. We're only just under 4 years old. And the way we think about these cardiovascular diseases is we try and subgroup the patients into as small groups as the science and the disease biology dictate. So it could be that patients suffering from a particular disorder that we're designing therapies for there might only be 50 or 100,000 of those patients. It's not typically how the cardiology drug discovery community thinks.
Correct.
So we're going in the other direction of splitting these patients out where we think we know more about the disease and we can tailor a specific therapy for them. I think in learning in those smaller patient segments, it will tell us more about other diseases where improving or changing cardiac muscle contraction can be useful, but we're going to take it step by step, let the science lead us, and get to a point where we can efficiently develop therapies, albeit for relatively smaller patient populations than the cardiology community is used to thinking about.
Well, please come back the next time you have some updates, because this is obviously a topic that we're interested in, and it's one that I would encourage you to go to CardioSource World News, and please read the January issue if you haven't, because it was fun putting it together. It took a long time, but it was fun putting it together. For CardioSource World News, I'm Executive Editor Rick McGuire.